Look, I don't have a time machine. I can't go back 10 years. I can't implement what I know now. But you can. That's why I'm creating this video, just so I know what it's like. I know how hard life can be. When I was 20, I thought I had to have everything planned. I thought I had to become this person. I thought I had to fix everyone else's problems, including my own. I thought I was all by myself. It's hard. Life can get like that, but sometimes we make life harder for ourselves. I know what it's like to add loads of pressure to yourself. I understand how it feels. But let me tell you a little secret. No one knows all the answers. They don't. I've worked with hundreds of people over the last 10 years in coaching, and I can tell you most people do not know who they are, and they do not really know what they're doing. I look around at people, I observe the world, and most people are just winging it, let's be honest. But let me ask you this. If you knew everything that was going to happen to you for the rest of your life, would there be much point in then living it if you already had all the answers? I'd argue no. Where's the mystery in that? And that's the joy of life. Life is one big mystery. And from my experience, once you know who you are and you know the direction you're traveling, it doesn't mean you have to know everything, but once you're grounded and at peace with yourself and what you offer to the world, you can start living life and looking at things through a different lens, and it will change your perspective on life itself, but it will get you to where you need to get to a little bit quicker. Not that it's about speed. I don't mean it like that. I mean it like this. If I knew these 5 things in my early 20s and acted on them, I'd be in a different position now. It would just mean that by the age of 30, which I am now, my life would just be set up the way I wanted it. And don't get me wrong, I think I'm a few years off that, but it would just be nice to have that little bit of expertise at a young age. So here are 5 things I wish I'd have known when I was around 20. Number 1, become a doer, not a thinker. I spent far too much time in my life planning everything out and overthinking everything. Use your mind to your advantage, but if you spend too much time in your own head, I'll tell you what will happen. You won't do anything. And the magic happens when you begin to take action. That's where your life starts to change, because that's where you'll learn what you need to do. You can do so much in your head and you can make a plan. I'm not saying that's bad, but I spent too much time in my own head, and that can be negative. It's easy then to overthink. It's easy then to pay attention to those negative thoughts. But if you have a plan and you act on the plan, whether it works or not, at least you've got the answers you're looking for. In action, that's where growth happens. And when I look at people that I've worked with and people around the world, it's evidently clear the ones that are more successful, not saying the point of life is becoming successful, but the ones that are successful in certain things. Take an athlete. It's the one that practices something 10,000 hours. It's not the one that thinks about it all day long. Number 2, no one really cares about what you're doing. When I was younger, I used to think I was special. Like, if I'm being honest, I had a bit of an ego. I used to think I was better than other people. Look, I know, guilty as charged. But I also used to compare myself to everyone else. And I used to make most of my decisions based on fear. That I'm not enough, that I was trying to protect this self-image I had. But it kept me small. And in that mindset, I was constantly, like I say, I was envious of others and I was comparing myself to them. But let me tell you this, no one really cares. No one's sat at home thinking, oh, I wonder what they're doing right now. Like, we don't think like that. And it's the same, it's similar to sort of like doer or thinker. Like, we can spend too much time in our own heads. It's the same sort of thing, but I'm going to say this plainly. What matters most is that you care about what you're doing. When you care about what you're doing, generally, you'll be serving a purpose. And be careful, because you can get stuck in your ego here. But when we look at ourselves, we'll have certain gifts. I would call that identity. Like, there's certain things that you're good at. Like, one of mine, I can talk to pretty much everyone and I can bring peace into that conversation. And I can support people in finding the truth within themselves or within what they're looking for. Now, you'll have your own gifts. And those gifts, whether you share them in small quantities or you create a business out of it or whatever, that's what you need to focus on. Because what is important is that you know who you are, whether or not people like that or not. We can't change other people's opinions of us. But what we can do is completely define who we are. Be careful of the way you define yourself, and this can always change. But once you know who you are, life becomes easier because you're more grounded in that identity. And just to touch on that, you'll get more joy and more peace when you put other people before yourself. It doesn't mean, because sometimes I've done that as well, and sometimes you've still got to be good in yourself mentally, financially, physically. You've still got to be grounded yourself. You know, you can't help anyone else if you don't have that foundation. But from everything I've ever done in my life, I get the most joy of working with people and supporting them in their own transformation. Now, for you, it might be something different, but serving other people gives you, I would say it gives you life. Number 3, take responsibility of your life. Your life, your soul is in your keeping alone. Remember that. It's a movie quote, don't worry about it. But it's your responsibility. And sometimes in my life, hold my hands up, I've buried my head in the sand. And I've almost wished, which is delusion, I've just thought things will just get better by themselves. No, they won't. If nothing changes, nothing changes, obviously. And I think a lot of us you can get stuck in the system, or you can get stuck in the systems of the world as well, where it's easier to not deal with certain questions you're looking for the answers for. And that's also what I mean by burying your head in the sand. It's your responsibility. It's your responsibilities as a man to become the man that, become that future father, become that man that maybe creates that business, or just become that grounded man that you want to be. But only you can sort of find out who that is and who you want yourself to be in a way. You're not going to do that by burying your head in the sand and wishing for things to change. So it loops back on being responsible. Now, that doesn't mean you have to figure out all your life all at once. But the things that you need to pay attention to, the things that often you brush to the side, those are the things that I would just say, just own the responsibility of them. Don't try and do 10 things at once, but just pick one thing, maybe a week, or if you could do one thing a day, fine. But one thing that you can own responsibility for and change. It will also stop you blaming circumstances, other people, and life for the things that are happening to you. Sometimes what happens to us, we can't control. Well, a lot of the time, right? What we can do, though, is take responsibility, and we can control our response. Number 4, this is a big one. Confront what scares you. The other side of fear is life itself. I truly believe we have 2 choices every day, every moment of life. You can choose to live from a place of love, or you can choose to live from a place of fear. And we see that in our decisions. When I used to create more content when I was a little bit younger, I used to do more nutrition and personal training stuff. And I would be scared of what other people think. I'd be scared of being seen. And this is still a fear I have actually, that crops up. It's a fear of being seen as my true self. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not as bad as what it once was when I was younger. And I am going to do something that puts me out my comfort zone soon, where I'll be doing more street interviews and different things like that, because I still have the fear of being seen. And I know it's ridiculous, and I know once I start acting on it, that's how you get confident at anything. Confidence is the ability of you just turning up and practicing. You want to be the best public speaker, you've got to practice public speaking. Confidence comes from practice. So, and all I can say, the things that feel most scary, when you face them, most of the time you're like, it's not that bad. You know, there's bigger things to like think about. I'd say with fear, it should be used, it's not necessarily a negative emotion, right? I don't mean, you know, like, you don't want to just walk in front of a car and let the car hit you. There's a certain amount of fear, right? We want to live our lives, we want to be healthy and live long, healthy lives, right? And, you know, pursue meaning and purpose and create whatever life we have. We have purpose for being here. So I'm not saying fear is all bad, but it becomes negative if constantly you're making choices out of fear. And it will trap you in a little box that, well, in a cage that you've closed the door on yourself. And the only way to get out of that cage, it's not as complicated as you think. Open the door the same way, but to open that door, you're stepping into the world and you've got to face the things that you're most afraid of. I'm just telling you from experience. Fear will decide your fate if you do not face it. So rip the band-aid off, just face it. And don't overwhelm yourself, do it in micro steps. Like take my good example, like I do a reading at church every week. But that's practicing me because one day I would like to do some public speaking. And I've done different things like that in my life, but I've got to face the fear of being seen and practice. If I don't and just stay in my office in front of a camera, like, I'm not going to get better at speaking in public. There's no one around right now. So put yourself in those uncomfortable positions until you are comfortable there. And finally, number 5, you're not meant to have it all figured out. And like I said, no one does. Those people that you look at and you think, oh, they've got it all figured out. They don't. They might have something figured out that you don't. And that's another thing when you learn from other people. Learn from people that have something you want or have done something, or coach someone else to do something that you want to do. Be careful where you take advice from. The main reason I've put this in at number 5 is because what I used to do when I was younger, I would heap loads of pressure onto myself and it would weigh me down. It weighed me down so much that I didn't really give myself permission to enjoy life. I've travelled all around the world. I have such good friends and family. And I've got myself stuck in this sort of pattern or loop where it's just like, I can't enjoy life because I've got to get here or accomplish this or get this, or you're not there yet, so you're not good enough, so you can't enjoy life. I'm telling you now, have balance and enjoy life. What I mean is enjoy it. Enjoy the little things. Don't feel like, oh man, I've got so much pressure to do this thing. Like, it's most likely not as important as you think. The one thing I'd say is just build a routine that suits you. And trust me, adding more pressure to yourself is just going to make life suck. Don't do it. You don't need to do it. You won't find out everything you ever want to know anyway. And I don't mean this in a detrimental way. I mean, focus and pursue what is important in your life. Yeah, go after your dreams. I'm not saying don't do that. But I've always chased my dreams. Along the way as well, remember, you're constantly figuring it out because you don't know everything right now. You have to get out there. You have to take the action. You have to get out of your head and take the action and do the things that most people are scared to do. But enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's life. It's around us. Enjoy time with the people you love. I used to isolate myself from people. People I truly loved. I'd be like, can't really spend time with it. I've got in my office. Da-da-da-da. Was it worth it? No. But it's my journey, and that's how I chose to live at that moment in time, and I thought I was doing the right thing, but I can tell you from my experience, it's not. You don't have to add loads of pressure on yourself. I'm saying take responsibility, aren't I? But don't add unnecessary pressure onto you. You don't need it. Life can be hard enough already. You don't need more pressure. Trust me. Finally, I have a question for you. If you had all the money in the world and all the success and everything, say whatever you're dreaming about came true, fame, money, whatever it might be, 10 supermodels, who knows, right? I know how I thought at 20. What would you choose to do with your life? And if you can't quite answer that question, that's fine. But I would love to have a conversation with you about that.